morning, bird brains. Could this weather be any more perfect? If heaven is a thing and they have motorcycles in heaven and I somehow manage to scrape into heaven, this is what the weather will be like every day, and I will have a unlimited plethora of bikes, because this right here is heaven on earth. I am headed out into the hill country, hit some nice twisty roads, and talk about a controversial topic. I saw it, dude. Alright, so our controversial topic for today. Now, the reason I say it's controversial is that it has a little bit to do with politics, but before you go ahead and click off the video, let me explain myself. We're not going to be talking politics, just something that kind of ties into politics. I, for one, hate the whole idea of politics. Not so much politics, but the whole bipartisan system, just because I mostly fall into the Republican category, but the big issues that, like, Republicans are really hard on, well, not all of them, but a lot of the issues that Republicans are really hard on, I'm on the complete opposite side of the fence. And it's pretty much just on three major topics. I think anybody, regardless of sexual orientation, should have the same rights and be able to get married. I think marijuana should be legalized for recreational use, at least medical use. I mean, if we're gonna at least take a step in the right direction, or a direction. I shouldn't use the word right because it's just my opinion, and I'm pro-choice. I think a woman should be able to do with her body what she pleases, and we'll just leave it at that. So go ahead and insert your hate comments down there in the bottom, because I know you're going to. But let's go ahead and skip past that and focus more on the topic at hand here, which is voting. Now, the reason that this even came to mind was particularly during this election, both sides were hit very hard with quote-unquote fake news. And like I said, both sides were hit hard, but the reason I'm bringing this up is people were saying that this did sway the votes. I mean, I kind of have to agree. To what extent, I'm not sure, but some people were swayed by some obviously incorrect, inaccurate, fake, just completely ridiculous news. So that got me thinking, are people that believe that or can't do the research, or this is weird to just put into words. It's weird to say this without coming across in a different way. In short, I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it just the easiest way I can. Why are people that are that stupid allowed to vote? I mean, I'm laughing, but it's really not a laughing subject. Voting is a right. I mean, I'll agree with that. But when voting has such a large and meaningful impact to everybody, I believe that vote should have to be worked for. Now, I'm not saying you have to score, you know, a 15,000 on your SATs. By the way, I know it's not a real score. I mean, you should at least show that you're cognitive and can research and analyze yourself. The reason this came up is I was talking about it to a friend the other day about how you have to go through more of a vetting process to adopt an animal than to have a child. Now, I'm not saying the government should, you know, sterilize everybody and you have to get permission to have children and things like that, but if you think about it, I mean, having a child has a much bigger impact on the world and your community than adopting a pet does, but yet you have to go through a questionnaire and a vetting process just to adopt an animal. Don't even get me started on adopting a child. I mean, that's a large expense. It's a long process. It's just overall not a good time. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but there's a crap ton of kids that need adopting. Now, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want to be handing out kids to, you know, any swinging dick out there, but I digress. I mean, should people be certified to vote? If, say for example, you want to drive a large semi-truck for a living, that can be quite dangerous if someone who doesn't know what they're doing is behind the wheel of a large, heavy, destructive semi. So you have to go through a class and you have to get a special license, like that gentleman right there. If you want to become an electrician, you have to go through a class, you have to get a special license to show that you're capable of doing that job and not doing it improperly. In most states, if you want to conceal a handgun, something that can be very dangerous in the wrong hands, you have to go through a special class, you have to get a license. But when it comes to voting, something that has, I mean, if you think about it in the overall long-term spectrum, has a much more impactful effect than any three of those things I just mentioned. All you have to go down is just go and write your name down on a piece of paper and you can vote. Now, some would argue that that's like comparing taking that handgun and handing it over to someone who is qualified. I can see where you're coming from that. But those who do have a vote on who that person is that you're handing that handgun over to, you probably want them to be in the best standing that you can achieve easily. So I'm not saying like, you know, like I said, I don't want you to have to explain the theory of quantum mechanics to me, but I don't know, maybe make it just like a simple Google test even. Have them basically find the correct, accurate information and prove that they at least have the capabilities to sift through all the bullshit that is constantly fed in. Now, while I'm talking about that, I mean, you're getting into the whole, the government controls us all, they control the media, which, I mean, I agree to a point. Well, I mean, if you look at it that way, the government probably doesn't want us to be smarter, which in that case, it would make perfect sense. But, I don't know, it was just a question I had. So yeah, go ahead and leave all your, hateful, disrespectful messages down there in the comments. I can already tell they're coming. And I'm going to continue my ride through this very white privileged neighborhood. I've seen so many landscapers. I mean, by the way, that was a joke. Most of these homes are probably owned by Hispanics because we are in San Antonio, let's be honest. Alright, that's enough offensive material for me today. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
When you wanna give me that, you purchase a plane.